All right, got another NPC upgrade build for you guys, and today we're looking at V.II Snail's Open Faith AC. And this one's got a little bit different from usual in that Snail has two AC builds that we see in game, one during the Ice Storm mission, and then he's got a different build afterwards using the stun needle, or the stun needle launcher that Archibus gets at that point. And I decided to focus on his Ice Storm mission build because if you remember, I've mentioned it before, but after I get all these NPC upgrades done, I want to do a couple runs through the campaign where I mod the game so that all the NPCs have the upgraded builds I made for them. And I wanted to actually experience Snail with his original AC to some extent, but also upgraded, right? So what are the main issues with this build? Well, honestly, the only thing that's an issue, I guess, would be the stun gun he has in his right hand, and it's not a bad weapon at all. The stun guns are pretty good, but they're mostly good as a dual wield type weapon, right? And I just feel like if you're going to use the stun guns, double trigger them or don't bother. That's my opinion. Maybe you disagree, but I decided just don't bother with them. So what have I decided to do? Well, I also decided to kind of lean towards into the PvP meta just a little bit in terms of to make him as obnoxious as possible. Of course, the LRB. Now, if you've played any PvP recently or played in sort of try hard, sweaty lobbies, you're probably very familiar with the LRBs. Very, very strong weapons. Charge shots from this thing are absolutely devastating. And that's what I've replaced this stun gun with in the right hand. Decided to keep the laser lance. No reason to replace it. And then I kept his original diffuse laser cannon. I don't remember what he has on the left shoulder in his original build. I think it was just the plasma missiles. But I decided to give him another diffuse laser cannons. Diffuse laser cannons are absolutely devastating when you have two of them together. Full blast from both of them does an absurd amount of damage and impact. And charged, they're just absolutely they're just silly. If you get charge shots from both diffuse laser cannons, they're whatever you hit's pretty much staggered and dead, and that's just what it is. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into the details, and I'll give you kind of more specific details of what changes I made and why I made them. Let's get into it. Alright, now starting with the right arm unit, we've got the LRB. If you're vaguely familiar with the PvP meta recently, this is definitely a weapon you are familiar with. It's an incredibly strong weapon. The regular uncharged shots are quite strong. They do a good chunk of damage. As you can see, the baseline is 778. A decent chunk of impact. But in this case, for this build, we're mainly concerned about the charge attack. You could definitely fire off a few pot shots here and there, but the charge shot is mainly what I use it for, at least. 2,352 base charge attack power. This thing is an absolute monster. Handheld. Don't forget it gets benefit from energy specialization, so it actually does more damage than that if you've got a good energy specialization generator. It's an absolute monster of a weapon, with the downside of it being it's pretty heavy and energy intensive, right? But just incredibly strong weapon. Laps like a truck. Now, of course, for the left arm unit, the laser lance was no way I was going to change this, right? This is basically, Snail's kind of signature weapon almost. At least to me, I consider it to be his signature weapon. There was no shot I was going to change it. It's a pretty good weapon all around, right? It hits pretty hard. It's got pretty good travel distance. Just a solid weapon all around. It is a little slow, but considering how far it goes, it's pretty good. I kind of consider it the same in the same sort of category as the Pile Bunker, to be honest, in terms of melee weapons. Obviously, this has the the advantage of just having way more range on the charge attack, right? Now, for the back units, double LCD diffuse laser cannons. Now, I've mentioned it before, this is probably my favorite back unit in the game. And since I mentioned in the intro that I wanted to focus on using more of basing this on more of Snail's build that you see in the Ice Storm mission, I decided to go for double diffuse laser cannons, drop the plasma missile launcher entirely, and let me just say, these are really good weapons, especially with two of them on the back. As you can see, the base attack power is 1300. Of course, it is a laser shotgun. It's going to be pretty close range for that, but the charge shot does function as a regular laser cannon, and the charge shot also absolutely slaps. It's a ton of impact. Really good projectile speed, right? Really solid, very versatile weapon all around. It used to have the really big disadvantage, especially for the charge shots, of only having, I think it was 35 rounds in the round capacity, right? and it uses 3 ammo per charge shot. So it had that one really big disadvantage of you really chew through your ammo really quickly, but they gave it that really big ammo buff, 54 rounds capacity now, very, very good. Just really good weapons all around, and now they actually have decent ammo capacity. Love these things. And yeah, that's about all there is to say about the weapons. Let's go ahead and move on to the frame parts. Now, I've only made one change here in the frame. The head, the core, and the legs are all very good parts. I didn't see a particular need to change them, especially combined with the booster we're using. But for the arms, these needed an upgrade for sure. He originally has the VE46A arms, and the biggest issue here is, other than it just kind of being too heavy and too much energy drain for this build, it's got bad firearm spec and melee specialization in exchange for having really high arms limit and defenses. The arms load limit is kind of like not relevant to this build at all. The real recoil control as well is basically not relevant to this build. So, and even considering that, this is still very, like, the ephemeral arms, which I switched to, still have good defenses, and they've got decent recoil control. They have enough arms load limit, but more importantly, we've got decent firearm spec, and even more importantly, we've got good melee specialization, or at least not below 100, right? Is decent melee specialization. This way we're not literally losing damage on the laser lance, right? And that's kind of the big one, right? The laser lance is a very, very powerful weapon, but if you're using arms that make it weaker, it's all of a sudden not that great, right? It's already not necessarily the most consistent weapon at times. The hitbox can be a little janky, and sometimes you'll just slide right past your target, which being a little annoying. But definitely does a ton of damage when you hit with it. And even as a just quick and like an unintentional attack, it does a pretty good amount of attack and impact. And the accumulated impact isn't the best, but it's pretty decent, right? And yeah, that just wasn't really a reason to change anything else. This is a good head, good attitude ability, good defensive stats, just good stats all around. The core is kind of the same in this regard, just decent stats all around. Not the best booster efficiency, of course, but pretty much everything we needed to do. And there are a whole lot of options you can really switch this out for, with kind of the ephemeral core being one of the options you can switch it out for, because we do need a lot of generator output on this build, of course, being just super heavy energy drain in order to run that sort of high energy specialization in the core, right? And literally these are your two options, right? And the ephemeral core, as you can see, doesn't have much defenses at all. It's very squishy in that regard, has like no attitude stability. So I just didn't consider this build is going to be slow no matter what. Did not justify switching out the core for the ephemeral core. And the legs, I feel like these legs are just way too iconic, right? Way too iconic for Snail. Couldn't possibly take those legs off. And yes, all there is about the frame. Let's go ahead and move on into the internals. Alright, now first for the boosters, the bristle. This is what he originally uses, and I saw absolutely no reason to change this. This is an assault boost specialized booster. Just go really fast while assault boosting. What else is there to say? The build's going to be really heavy. There's really not much you can do to prevent it from being a slow build, right? So the bristle giving you that really high assault boost thrust and letting you have fast, even regardless, right? But also, it does also have decent melee attack thrust. Obviously, nothing as good as like the Kikaku booster, but you can still get some very, very good speed and coverage with the laser lance or like the laser dagger. But obviously, the laser lance in this case, again, not going to be good as the Kikaku boosters for melee boosting, but definitely going to be a nice tool in your arsenal. So make sure you know how to do it. It's really simple. If you don't know, you melee attack a target. The melee will send you towards the target, and then you do a quick boost to cancel the melee attack before it actually comes out, and then your melee weapon doesn't start overheating. It doesn't use its it doesn't overheat, right? And yeah, there isn't really much else to say about it. Just was simply no reason, and I don't think any particular booster is going to be better for this build. Even like this build is even too heavy for the NGI 001, right? So didn't think anything was going to be better than the bristle for this booster, right? Now, for the FCS, I've switched out. I don't remember what he has originally, but I've gone for the WLT-001. This is a really good all-rounder sort of FCS. It does have a relatively high energy drain compared to other FCS, but again, this gives you a really good set of stats. Close range, you do just fine. Medium range, you do great. And also long range, you do just fine. And this build functions at all of these ranges, right? Obviously, the diffuse laser cannon are basically shoulder-mounted shotguns. So you do want some decent close range assist. They also work just fine in medium range, just in the LRB, also really good medium to long range weapon. You kind of want all these stats for this build, in my opinion, and that's why I went for WLT001. It just has everything, right? It's not the best at everything, but it's got everything. And oh yeah, the generator. I don't remember I'm pretty sure he has this on originally. The VE20C, obviously high energy firearm spec, is the main purpose here. Now, unfortunately, we don't have a lot of surplus energy, so our energy supply efficiency isn't the best. So your energy is going to regenerate pretty slowly. You have to keep that in mind. On the other hand, this is a very tanky build. You can afford to just eat some damage to give your energy time to recharge. Just, try to avoid anything too big. So, try to avoid completely draining your energy, of course, but don't be afraid to eat a little damage to get your energy back. But you with this generator, the 128 firearm spec is going to make your weapons, except for the laser lance, that's affected only by your melee specialization. It's going to make all your other weapons so do a lot of damage, and they're going to absolutely slap. And yeah, I don't remember what he has originally here. I've got assault armor on. I think he originally has assault armor. Again, you know me, I mentioned a million times, for PvP or something, I prefer terminal armor. For PvE, assault armor. Either one works just fine. This is honestly like a pretty solid PvP build to some extent. Laser lance maybe not my first choice for PvP, but it definitely works just fine. But yeah, that's going to be all there is to say. If you want to see some more gameplay footage, stick around here for a minute. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you in the next one.
That comms interference must have been your work too, interloper. Courses works, you're all the same. Violate the law and you'll pay the price. Reach the system. You've made a big mistake, Merc.
This weakened system. Go for the jugular.
AP at 50%.
Nothing left in the vicinity. Looks like you cleaned up. We're done here. Head back to base 621.
There's our Merc. Go take care of the objective, King. I'll clip this one's wings.
Not alone. This is a branch mission. I'll support you.
This is amazing. Just a Gen 4. You belong in a museum, not an AC.
Chartreuse! Withdraw! Abandon your AC!
AC Umbrellas destroyed.
AP at 50%. Two repair kits remaining.
You're strong. Worthy of your name.
AC Aster Crown destroyed. Targets to intercept have been destroyed. Mission accomplished. Wait, I'm picking up another AC.
Augmented human C4621. We're not here to take back the Raven name. However, we will see if you can do it justice. Our friends have been defeated. Be careful, Raven.
That pilot must be the original owner of the license.
Raven, we can still... All right. We'll watch this one. See where they go on a Raven's wings.
All enemy ACs destroyed. Mission accomplished.